We all know about typos that are more accurate than what was meant to be written, to the point where you wonder whether it's not a typo at all. Such was my experience of a pew sheet recently, in which the opening words of the guidance on communion during the swine flu outbreak came out not as in the current pandemic, but with the loss of a few letters, in the current panic. That seemed to me to sum up our response not just to swine flu, but to other things too. Our response to a pervasive fear is to avoid contact and to stay clear of each other, for the other becomes dangerous. Hygiene becomes a matter not of the health of the body, but of self-preservation. The analogy with current goings-on in society and church is inescapable. We live in times of increasing fear, and out of that come desperate measures, for example, to control immigration, which means, of course, controlling immigrants at whatever cost to their physical and mental health. But it also means trying to shore up the defences of our communion against the incoming tides that threaten. Some of the things that are said about the Episcopal Church lead me to think it has acquired in some minds some of the characteristics of a virus, to be warded off at all costs. So alongside cafe church and messy church, we now have hygienic church. A place where we can be sure that the taints and errors of others will not harm us. The difference is, of course, that whereas initiatives like cafe church and messy church are pioneer ventures alongside mainstream church activity, hygienic church is presented as an aspiration that will benefit us all. It is not, at least not yet, being suggested that we exclude from membership those with whom we disagree, only that we find ways to make it clear who the proper members are and who may speak for us or in our name. The covenant proposal, if accepted, I should perhaps say when accepted, since people tend to go to what they have been told is the only show in town, if they're told that often enough. The covenant proposal will have that effect, even if not everyone who supports it has that intention. This address, and the request for your hospitality in being allowed to deliver it here, have been provoked in the main by the reflections the Archbishop of Canterbury has produced following the 2009 General Convention of the Episcopal Church in the USA, under the title Communion, Covenant and Our Anglican Future. I've also been affected by the paper The Anglican Covenant, Shared Discernment Recognised by All, by 4 American writers, signed also by the Bishop of Durham. I ought to say at the outset that I fear the thoughts that the Archbishop has provoked in me are not very new. And what I say here I have mostly said before, even as far back as 1991, when I published Belonging, Challenge to a Tribal Church, a book which is much more relevant to the current crisis in the Anglican Communion than I would wish it to be. But if these thoughts are not new, I do feel that the present stage in our debates, and the Archbishop's latest intervention in particular, require them to be stated again and perhaps more sharply, and with some suggestions about how those who find in these ideas anything that resonates with their own might respond with the force that the situation demands. I write in the knowledge that the Archbishop speaks and acts as he does out of a profound concern for the unity and mission of the Anglican Communion, and that he acts as he does in the belief that his role as its principal primate and instrument of unity demands that he does. I sadly believe that his good purposes have been and are being subverted. Before considering the Archbishop's paper in any detail, there are 3 general points I want to make about the way the debates about sexuality and the advocacy of the covenant have been conducted in the Church of England. They're not new points, as I've said, and it's sad and unexpected to find myself having to make them in relation to the Archbishop's paper.